Hello 108 students, Mr. McHugh here with you and my black lab Cheyenne. She's been pacing all day, so I'm trying to get her to settle down here with me, so she's going to help me out here on this section. So we're going to wrap up section 6.1. We've been doing our introductory to factoring, working on page 3, and objective 2 here is a summary of what we've been doing on a previous page here, where if you've got a factoring of 4 terms, you see 4 terms, you want to remember to factor by grouping, and that's using the set of parentheses around the binomials. Pick 2 terms, and hopefully the first 2 terms and then the second 2 terms you put parentheses, I call mental parentheses, put parentheses around them, pull out the factoring within that set of parentheses, and then once you do that, you kind of hope and pray that the parentheses are exactly the same, and then you do your second round of GCF and you pull out the binomial. Okay, now let's just illustrate this one more time. I put example 5 here to kind of, with a lot of letters, A's, X's, and Y's, and B's. Let's just watch how this would go. Okay, so I turn around here, I see these 4 terms, they say factoring. Remember, your final result needs to have multiplication in it. So, take the first 2 terms, put your parentheses around them, group them that way. Take the second pair, I've got that plus sign in here, so got the plus, and you got a plus bx minus by. Parentheses around there. Go back, look at the first set of parentheses. Can you pull out a GCF? I see the A and the A, I pull it out. Multiply by what's left to produce it, x minus y. A times x is ax, A times minus y is minus ay. Okay, so we're doing good. Then we come around, we look at the second parentheses. I notice the B and the B, I pull it out, I make it the GCF, and I'm left with, in the parentheses, x minus y. Okay, now this is all nice and neat and tight, and look at the parentheses. X minus y is the exact same thing inside both of them. So now you do your second round of GCF, and you pull out that parenthesis, x minus y. You have assumed multiplication, and you need to multiply the GCF x minus y times a to produce the first term, and multiply by b. Again, you're just doing the distributive property. Make sure your answers are working right. Multiply by b produces the second term, and there's your answer. Now, why is this factoring? One more time. 2 sets of parentheses, assumed multiplication going on. Therefore, it's factored form. Okay, now we're doing good. You love them. I don't mind giving these on homework problems because you learn to factor by pairing up the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms, and then you're on your way. Now, turns out sometimes they can get just a little bit nasty here, because example 7, and there's no way to tell this, you see 4 terms, you say, okay, we're going to factor by grouping. You give yourself mental parentheses around the first 2 terms. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Sorry. This problem is going to be okay. I apologize. Follow the same process and look at 6ax, 12bx. You're going to pull out a GCF of 6. 6 goes in 6 and 12. X is in both, not the A, not the B, so you pull out the X. That's the GCF. Inside the parentheses, you're left with A, and you're left with 2b when you multiplied by the GCF of 6x. Okay, yeah, it looks cool. You come over here. The reason we did this problem was here's the parentheses a plus 2b. Be careful. What you got to remember is to pop up the 1. There's a coefficient of 1 in there. Make sure you put that in there, because when you pull out an a plus 2b as your second round of GCFs, you're left with 6x, and the 1 have to come down, so that when you multiply it by the second GCF by 6x produces the first term, and multiplied by 1 produces the second term. Okay, so that's what's a little sneaky about that. Now, example 8 is the one I wanted to get into here now. Now, this guy can be a little nasty, and here's the hard part. You're not given any clue as to why you're supposed to know to do this step I'm going to tell you. Okay, so it's kind of a PIA problem. And what I mean is, you look at this, you see 4 terms, you want to put your parentheses around the first 2, you want to put them around the second 2 with a plus sign in there, and then you try to pull out the GCFs and when you look at the new set of parentheses that are created, you will not have the same set of parentheses like we had over here, x minus y, x minus y. Do you ever wonder how all nice and convenient that was? Sometimes it doesn't work out. Okay, now when you go down that first path of doing parentheses around the first two terms and the second two terms, and you cannot come up with a common binomial, aka set of parentheses, you must go back and rearrange the terms. Now when I first started teaching this, it used to drive me crazy. What I found out was that all you have to do is realize that the two middle terms, you need to switch them. So swap the two middle terms. This is what this problem is all about. Swap the two middle terms. So I took the negative 2q squared, I made it the second one, I made it minus 10, I made it the third term. Okay. Once you've done that, now you go ahead and restart your process. Put your parentheses around the first two terms, around the second two terms. Look for your first round of GCFs, which is I see q squared in both of these. I pull it out. Over here I see a negative 10 and a 5, and I'm going to pull out the 5. I'm left with minus 2 plus p squared. Now over here you notice it's p squared minus 2. Now I look at this and I look at this, and then I just remember that addition is commutative property. Excuse me, addition is commutative and the order does not matter. So I'm going to swap p squared and the minus 2, and now all of a sudden I have matched the first set of parentheses. So that becomes the GCF. I pull it out, and then I'm left with the q squared and the plus 5 to come down. And finally you factor that. Okay, now I tell you what, those are again a tad tricky. They're kind of a pain. You'll see one or two on the homework. I just give you a heads up, I'm not a real big believer in making you guys go crazy. I doubt if you see any of these on the quiz. Really do. I don't think I put any on there. Okay, Mr. McHugh, I'm going to sign off here. We have finished section 6.1. Page 3 is in the book. So when it kind of gets boring, but guess where I'm going to go to? 6.2, and Cheyenne, my helper, fell asleep, and she's doing what black labs like to do, and that's sleep in the afternoon. Okay, Mr. McHugh, going to sign off here now, so I'll see you when we start 6.2. Okay, goodbye.